Everyone deserves health care.
Even illegals?
Every single person in the world deserves
Just for the
healthcare.
record, as a candidate, you're for illegal aliens getting Medicaid.
I think everyone in the world deserves
That's a yes.
healthcare.
That's a yes.
I'm such a
That's a Democratic position.
It is a yes, but
yeah.
It's a Democratic
Everyone in the
position.
world
Illegal
deserves
aliens should get Medicaid.
But I mean,
How is this controversial?
How is it controversial?
How is it controversial to think I don't want someone to die in the hospital because they can't afford
Who do you
it?
think pays for health care when undocumented people show up at a hospital? Who pays for that?
We all pay for it.
Exactly.
including
We all
undocumented
pay
people
for
because
it.
they actually contribute.
That's the point. That's the point.
We do realize that undocumented
Who pays for the welfare system in this country generally? Taxpayers.
Are
you for it or not?
Can I start my logic train?
Are you for it or not?
My logic train starts with
Just
the fact that
say
I don't
yes.
want to kick 11 million people off
Do you
of
want
Medicaid.
the illegal aliens on or not?
Do I want first of all, do I want undocumented citizens to have
say
health care?
yes.
The answer is yes.
Abolish and prosecute ICE. We need to repeal the Patriot Act. We need to lift refugee caps, and we need to offer complete amnesty and citizenship to any immigrant here who has not committed a violent crime. Additionally, we need trials. There is no moving forward without justice. Stern words for Greg Bovino aren't enough. Body cameras aren't enough. We need people willing to put everything on the line, not when it's politically convenient and not.
So we got to talk about what might be one of the most embarrassing self-inflicted political losses you're going to see from the activist left in a long time. And it involves this woke congressional candidate, Kat Abughazaleh. Now, and if you guys aren't familiar with her, she's not just some random protester. This is somebody who was literally running for Congress, positioning herself as this Gen Z progressive voice. And she ended up catching federal charges after getting involved in a confrontation with ICE agents outside a facility in Illinois. According to federal prosecutors, her and a group of activists allegedly surrounded a federal vehicle, blocked it from moving, and even damaged it while trying to stop immigration enforcement operation, which led to charges like conspiracy to impede a federal officer and interfering with law enforcement duties. Now, here's where it gets crazy. Because while all this was going down, while she's out there trying to play activist hero, trying to physically obstruct federal agents from doing their job, she ends up getting tossed to the ground in a moment that goes viral all over social media. And that clip alone basically summed up the entire situation. You got somebody who thinks they are above the law and thinks they could just stand in front of federal officers, interfere with an active operation, and then act shocked when reality hits them. And what makes this even more humiliating is that this wasn't just some random protest going wrong. This was part of a broader political strategy from the left, where they tried to blur the line between peaceful protest and outright obstruction. And in this case, it completely backfired because at the end of the day, the law is very clear. You can protest, you can speak, you can disagree, but the moment you start physically interfering with federal agents, surrounding vehicles, blocking movement, damaging property, you cross into criminal territory. And that's exactly what prosecutors are alleging happened here. And yet, despite all of that, you got people on the left trying to spin this as some kind of victim Olympic story, claiming this is political persecution, claiming it's about silence and dissent, when in reality, what we're looking at is somebody who made a conscious decision to escalate a situation and is now dealing with the consequences. And again, the viral moment of her getting dropped during that confrontation, that's what really brought national attention to this, because it exposed the disconnect between how these activists see themselves and what actually happens when they come into contact with real law enforcement, enforcing real laws. So yeah, this is a story about activism. It's a story about accountability. And it's a story about what happens when ideology runs headfirst into reality. And we're going to break all of that down because there's a lot more going on here than just one viral clip. Hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and check this out.
But it is surreal to be the person on the indictment, especially because my name is really long.
What do you think about those charges, though? They seem really serious. Conspiracy to impede or injure an ICE officer, assaulting or impeding that officer. Those are pretty big charges.
The charges, I think they're actually like slightly different, but no matter what the charges are in the indictment, I plan on pleading not guilty. And this is a political prosecution, plain and simple. It's an effort to criminalize free speech, an effort to criminalize free association, and an effort to criminalize the very act of protest. And so we're going to be pleading not guilty. And the evidence will come out in court, and I fully plan on winning.
Yeah, just to be clear, the indictment alleges that you and others, quote, surrounded a federal officer's vehicle, banged on its hood and windows, etched pig on the side, and impeded movement. Did you etch the word pig on the side of an officer's car?
I'm not speaking to the specifics of anything that's in the indictment right now, but like I said, I do plan on pleading not guilty, and the evidence will come out in court, and I plan on winning.
Okay. Well, let's watch the video of what happened that day that they are alleged. But when you see that, what do you think right now?
Tara, once again, this is my first time being federally indicted. Like I said,
yeah,
I plan on pleading not guilty. The evidence will come out in court, and I plan on winning. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Just really quickly, I did want to ask you about just the fact that conspiracy to impede an officer is up to 6 years in prison, forcibly impeding and intimidating an officer is up to 8 years. Is that that could actually hinder your ability to serve in Congress? Are you concerned about that? Did she just sign off? Did she just leave the chat? I'm so confused. I'm sorry. I don't know what just happened. Okay. Well, she left because I asked her questions about what happened that day. All right. Well, I will continue with the conversation on my own, I guess. This is very bizarre. Yeah. So I guess this is, I've never had that happen before. Apologies.
Yeah, so despite all of the performative stunts, all of this performative activism, all of this social media clout chasing from this young radical progressive, she still got rejected where it actually matters, at the ballot box, as you guys can see on the screen right here. So she got rejected at the ballot box. This is her right here, Kate Abughazaleh, highlighted. And that's the part that I really want you guys to understand, because this wasn't just conservatives pushing back. This wasn't just Republicans criticizing her. This was her own party saying, nah, we're good. Democrat voters in her own district in Illinois looked at everything she stood for, looked at her behavior, looked at the fact that she's out here getting into confrontations with federal agents, catching charges, going viral for the wrong reasons. And they said, yeah, that's not who we represent. That's not who we want representing us. So Daniel Bliss ends up winning the primary here. And just like that, her entire political run collapses. And now you got this situation where not only is she no longer a candidate, not only did her political ambitions take a hit, but now she's also dealing with the legal consequences of her actions, which could include serious prison time, depending on how this case plays out. And that's where the reality really starts to set in. Because it's one thing to go viral, and it's one thing to get applause from people on social media who are sitting comfortably behind their screens. And it's a completely different situation when you are the one standing in front of a judge, and when you are the one dealing with federal charges, when your future is actually on the line. And what's even more telling about this whole situation is how she responded after that loss, because instead of taking accountability here, instead of reflecting on why the voters rejected her, instead of acknowledging that maybe, just maybe, engaging in extreme reckless behavior isn't a good look for someone trying to hold public office, what you get instead is a typical coping mechanism that we see from a lot of these activists on the left. I want you guys to check it out.
But we didn't win, and it really fucking sucks. We came really close, and it sucks. But something that no one in power even expected would be possible. At all. I need to stress to every single person in this room that this does not mean that the last year has been for nothing. Tens of thousands of people powered this campaign, knocking doors, making calls, donating what they could. We fed and clothed thousands of people across the 9th District. We forced our opponents to the left and to be more aggressive against this administration. We did all of this together from the ground up with everything against us. Thank you for being involved. And the work isn't over. There are progressives all over the country who are taking a chance just like we did, and we have to help them win. No matter how hard it is, we have to send a message to this administration, anyone who enables it, and I'm talking directly to them right now. You and your jobs are not safe. This is the start and not the end. We are not tolerating the status quo. You cannot kidnap and kill us and our neighbors. You cannot start illegal wars. You cannot trample on our rights and see our lives as a means for profit. We will continue to come back, and every single loss like this one just makes the path easier for the next person who takes the same chance. We are not done, and I am not going anywhere. When I said I would spend every single waking moment of the rest of my life to hold this administration accountable, win or lose, I fucking meant it. And I know all of you do too. So thank you for supporting us. I'm sorry that this sucks, but fuck Trump, fuck ICE, free Palestine, and I love you all.
So it's the excuses, it's the deflection, it's the attempt to reframe the situation as something other than what it actually is. And the anger, geez, you know what I'm saying? And that's why this moment is so important, because it highlights a bigger issue with modern progressive politics. This idea that activism alone, especially the most extreme forms of it, automatically translates into political success. And clearly in this case, it didn't. In fact, it did the exact opposite. It alienated voters, it raised serious concerns about her judgment, and it ultimately cost her the election. So now you got a failed campaign on one side and a potential criminal case on the other. And that's a tough reality check for somebody who thought they were going to ride this wave of activism straight into Congress. And like I said, the way she reacted to that loss, the way she tried to process it publicly tells you everything you need to know about the mindset behind this movement. So let's go ahead and take a look into the simple fact that not only did we just see Kat, I forgot it, Abughazaleh, basically dealing with the fact that she lost and facing the consequences of her actions. It seems to me that when individuals can't take accountability, they lean on the basis of anger and rage. And that's not a good form of being a leader, or a character of a leader, I should say, just in general, right? And listening to her response, you could just hear it in her tone, straight up, sore loseress. And that's what it sounds like when somebody loses touch with reality, and then it really hits them all at once. It's not thoughtful, it's not reflective, it's not leadership. Just emotional slogan driven outrage, F Trump, F ICE, free Palestine. That's not policy, that's not leadership, that's not something that's going to fix a single problem in this country. That's loser talk. That's the type of rhetoric that might get you likes on social media, that might get you applause in certain activist circles, but clearly it doesn't translate into real world support when people actually have to go into a voting booth and make decisions about who they want representing them. And in her case, voters made it very clear they didn't want that. They rejected it. But here's where things get a little bit more complicated, because while it didn't work for her, we do have some not so good news coming out of that state of Illinois when it comes to another race, the Senate primary, because in that race, you got another radical progressive, Juliana Stratton, who was backed by Governor J.B. Pritzker. And unlike Kat, this messaging actually worked for her, shockingly. And that's the part that should concern people, because now you're seeing two sides of the same coin. On one hand, you got a candidate who leaned all the way into the extreme activist rhetoric and got rejected. On the other hand, you got someone who is pushing very similar messaging, anti-Trump, anti-ICE, heavy on slogans, heavy on the ideological signaling, and she ends up with winning her primary. And yes, she ran ads that were basically built around the same energy. the same F Trump attitude, the same hostility towards immigration enforcement. And it resonated enough with Democrat voters in that race to carry her through. And I want you guys to check this out.
Fuck Trump. Vote Juliana.
Fuck Trump. Vote Juliana.
Fuck Trump. Vote Juliana.
They said it, not me. I'm Juliana Stratton, and I'm proud to have lived my whole life on the south side of Chicago. I'm not scared of a wannabe dictator. I'm running for Senate to stand up to Donald Trump. I'll abolish ICE and hold Trump accountable for the crimes he's committed. Just like they said, fuck
Trump.
Fuck Trump.
Fuck Trump.
Vote Juliana.
That's why I approve this message.
Fuck Trump.
So there you go. You guys got that, right? So now you got to ask yourself, what's the difference? Why does that message completely fail in one race but succeed in another? And the answer comes down to political structure, backing and establishment support. Because when you got someone like Stratton being backed by a powerful figure like J.B. Pritzker, when you got institutional support, funding, name recognition, and alignment with the broader Democrat machine in that state, suddenly that same radical messaging becomes more valuable. It's like, I'm sorry, but these Chicagoans do not learn. I mean, do you see Mayor Brandon Johnson? And it becomes more normalized, it seems like. And that's where the real issue is, because now you're not just talking about fringe activists on the outside looking in. You're talking about people who are actually gaining power while pushing ideas like abolishing ICE, which is national security for the country, let alone the states, individual states, and letting illegals not be in those states in droves to take over resources that American taxpayers pay for. Man, the Chicago Bears left Chicago. The football team, like, come on now. Which, like I said, let's be clear. It's not some small policy tweak when it comes to abolishing ICE to bring it all together. That is a fundamental shift in how this country handles immigration enforcement. ICE exists to enforce federal immigration law. That's their job. You could debate how it's done. You could talk about reforms, but abolishing altogether, that's not a serious solution. That's ideological extremism. And yet you got candidates who are openly embracing that position and still finding electoral success depending on the circumstances. All this telling me in translation for you out there who don't follow politics and it's not, in your everyday agenda, or you may be too busy. I'm here to break it down in plain, simple terms, working people like me and you to resonate with. All she basically saying is when she say abolish ISIS, she stand with illegals in a form of fraud or in a way to protect the illegals in the name of fraud to basically enrich themselves, because illegals don't have a social security number, right? They don't pay into the tax system, right? So the simple fact is you can do things in the name of nonprofit to help those, and illegals count, but they would just put it as though they're helping the public, but they're not talking about the illegals they're helping as well. So now the body count in which they feel as though they can justify why they need this funding, for example, with my example with a nonprofit, they can say, oh, we have X amount of people. I mean, we've seen the fraud in Minnesota with Somali immigrants. They happen to be Somalian. So all I'm saying is they're using the illegals to keep them in power, but they're also using the illegals to justify why they need more money, let alone American taxpayer dollars, to continue to fund and enrich themselves in the name of just being so treasonous, right? It's against not only the national security of the country, but against the individuals in that state who pay the taxes. The everyday working average Joe like me and you. So while it's easy to look at Abughazaleh's loss and say, okay, voters rejected that nonsense, but you can't ignore the fact that in other cases, the same energy is still gaining traction. And that's what makes this bigger than just one failed campaign. It's about a broader trend within the Democrat Party where this kind of rhetoric is not only tolerated, but in some cases rewarded. And that's something that should absolutely be on people's radar moving forward. So when you step back and look at everything we just went through, you start to see a very clear pattern. And it's honestly not even a subtle moment at this point. The only thing these people are really running on is F Trump. That's it. That's the platform, is F Trump. Save illegal immigrants and push some form of socialism dressed up as compassion. And that's what the modern Democrat platform has turned into. There's no real conversation about physical responsibility. There's no serious plan for economic growth. And what I mean by physical responsibility, as in the budget of how much money they keep throwing at problems, and they keep spending more money, but it's not really helping their constituents, let alone the individuals within their state, but they keep saying how we need to raise the budget in the name of taxpayers. I mean, in the name of continue to tax their citizens in their state. There's no serious plan for economic growth. Businesses are leaving Chicago in droves. Tax the rich, pay their fair share, right? Which ultimately means destroy the middle class. There's no more middle class. We're in a class war. I keep saying it. There's no meaningful discussion about national security beyond emotional appeals. It's slogans, it's outrage, it's identity politics. And in some of these primaries, unfortunately, that's actually enough to get people across the finish line. And that's what makes the situation a little more serious than just laughing at one failed candidate. Because while Abughazaleh got rejected, and rightfully so, you got someone like Juliana Stratton, who was actually projected to lose and still pulled off the upset. And you got J.B. Pritzker pouring millions of dollars into her campaign, backing her, elevating her, making sure she had the resources to compete. That's the power of the political machine. That's what happens when the establishment decides who they want to win. And yeah, maybe the whole F Trump style messaging actually helped energize a certain segment of voters. Maybe that's what pushed her over the edge, but that should tell you something about the direction of the party. Because if that's what resonates, if that's what wins, then that's what they're going to keep doing. They're not going to moderate. They're not going to suddenly become reasonable. They're not going to double down. And that's exactly what we're seeing. These candidates are more radical than ever, more aggressive than ever, more open about their agenda than ever. They're telling you to your face the most demonic things ever. And I don't understand how people don't realize this. She's saying it out loud, basically right here. She's basically saying Juliana Stratton, the Democrat Senate candidate for Illinois, abolishing ICE and giving citizenships to millions of illegal alien invaders. They're trying to continue to attain their voter base to stay in power and destroy your state, let alone this country, man. We can't let that happen. Because then how does it help you if the resources are strained? They are exhausted. They'd rather help an individual that's not even here, that's not even paying into the system, that's not even propping them up with dollars because it sure ain't their money. They'd rather let you pay to pass the buck on to someone else who wasn't supposed to be in this country in the first place. And that's why it's so important for people to actually pay attention. Just do your own research. Don't take my word for it. Pay attention to what's being said, what's being proposed, because this isn't some hypothetical, family. And I'm saying this with so much passion. Wake up, wake up, wake up. This is what they want to implement if they get power. There's no middle ground here. There's no, they won't really do that. No, they will. They are telling you exactly what they want to do. And that's why, from my perspective, there is no option to vote Democrat in this current political climate. Because if they take back power, God forbid, I rebuke and control, they're going to undo a lot of the progress that was made, especially under President Trump. Now, has Trump been perfect? No, nobody's saying that. But if we're being honest, if we're being objective, he has been significantly better than Biden in the current Democrat leadership on the issues that actually matter to everyday Americans, that get up and work their behind off, right? That get up and work their behind off. That's all it is to it. Trump is pro-American. He's for the American citizen. Election integrity, not government censorship. Having more money in your pocket to live the American dream, leave a house and pass something down to your family, your kids. I'm doing all this because I have a kid. This is for generations and generations to come, man. We have to vote wisely. We have to wake up, or we're cooked. God forbid. And one of the biggest ones is immigration. That was a major reason why Trump got elected again in 2024. It's an area where, quite frankly, it's hard to criticize the results when you compare it to what we saw in the Biden. And you already know what's going to happen if Democrats get control again. They're going to reverse that progress. They're going to open the border back up. They're going to refuse to deport people back who are here illegally. They're going to go right back at the same policies that created the problem in the first place. Democrats will create the problem. When it's time for re-election, they will sit there and act like they solved the problem. We all know that the Biden administration opened the borders and let crime run rampant. And then we know that these sanctuary cities, these blue states will sit here and say, we need more money. We got it. We don't need ICE. But they didn't sit there and they splurge all the money and throw more money at the problem, but they never fixed the problem. Democrats just believe in spending more money, which is taxing you, which is then squeezing your check where you have nothing left and you're just basically making ends meet like me and you. Come on, man. This is not how you're supposed to live. This is not how This is not how public officials are supposed to operate. They're supposed to be on the best interest of the people, not party over people, not for themselves to be rich in the name of fraud. That's being exposed, running rampant. Wake up, right? This is not speculation I'm speaking. This is based on their own rhetoric, their own proposal, their own track record. So at the end of the day, the question really becomes what direction we want this country to go in. Do we want to go back to policies that led to chaos at the border, rising costs, and a lack of accountability? And you have to realize Trump is trying to undo a lot of things that have been happening for years, right? A lot of bureaucratic tape, all these judges that's not pro-American. I'm pro-American. I'm for America first, baby. Forget the politicians. Obviously, I'm going to go the way that lobbies the best interest to uphold this country and strengthen the economy. But you have to realize you have a president in the second term trying to undo a lot of things that happened years before, all the way back to Obama. Come on now. But like I said, do we want to go back to policies that led to chaos at the border, rising costs, and lack of accountability? Or do we want to continue moving in a direction that prioritizes law and order, national sovereignty? Because those are the stakes. And when you listen to these candidates, when you hear what they're actually saying, when you look at what they're running on, it becomes very clear what their vision is. This is the modern Democrat Party. When someone paints you a picture, please don't let them paint you another one again. And if they get the power to act on this vision, they will. So it's on to voters to decide whether or not that's something they're willing to accept. Vote in the midterms, vote the right way, continue to go in the progress in which is pro-American, and in this case, when it comes to this current administration. And let me know what you guys think in the comments below, right? All I'm saying is think about your children, think about yourself, think about you working so hard to pay your taxes, doing everything right as a law-abiding, productive citizen. And they just squeezing you to death, where they feel as though everything you work hard, all the roots of this country of America was based on you work hard, you have opportunities of a lifetime before you. Now, the harder you work for what you get, not what these Democrats, socialists, and everything is standing for nowadays, where you work hard for what you get and now you got to share with others who don't want to do nothing for themselves, which is why you see the lack of accountability out this world. But make sure you hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. We just having a conversation. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and turn on your post notifications so you don't miss any future uploads. Love you guys. God bless. God bless America. Spread the peace, love, and positivity. And on that note, family, peace.